Good morning, my magnificent ones. Sue Paulson here, your magnificence mentor, and we're back with Tea with Sue. Today, I want to talk a little bit about how hurt people can hurt other people. This is a big topic, and it's kind of hit me in the face this week, so I thought I would share what's on my mind about that. When I was in my 40s, I was married, and my husband and I were taking part in a rather intensive personal growth weekend. And we volunteered to be in the hot seats because of an issue that had been brewing for both of us for a little while. I can't even remember what the issue was, quite honestly. It was that long ago. But what was fascinating to me, so one of the workshop leaders was a psychiatrist and well skilled in drawing people out and then pinpointing where things weren't working well. So we're both on our feet, my husband and I, and I'm telling my side of the story and he's telling his side of the story. And I made some comment about, well, finally he heard me. And for the first time, and the psychiatrist stopped us right there and pointed out to me the fact that I had just judged at that particular time in what I was saying. I wasn't relating the narrative. What I was relating was just laced with judgment and hurt and disappointment and all of those other kinds of emotions. And the way I said it obviously put him in the wrong. And when he pointed this out to me, and then he pointed out to both of us, he said, he said, you two together have learned how to be so sophisticated in the way that you hurt each other. You don't even know the knife has gone in and come out until you look down and notice that you're bleeding. And I'm going, oh, well, this just hit me full force because I hadn't seen it. I hadn't seen what I was doing. And it was not my intention to hurt my partner. That was not what I wanted to happen. But inadvertently, without realizing, I had, and which was totally counterproductive to us resolving the situation and getting where we wanted to go. So on one hand, I was extremely grateful that this psychiatrist had pointed out what I was doing, because that wasn't the way I wanted to behave. And I felt ashamed of not being as good as I wanted to be at communicating. And I had thought it by that time in my life, because I'd done a lot of work on personal and professional communication skills and worked a lot on myself. And I thought, oh, well, I know how to do this now. No. I don't know if that's ever happened to you. If you've ever had a moment of feeling ashamed and humiliated because you got embroiled in a situation that maybe it came out of the blue, maybe it blindsided you, emotions ran high, you had differences of opinion or viewpoint on the situation, and the stakes were high, that it felt like this was a pretty critical time, and you blew it. You didn't handle it well, and it ended badly. Well, I wish I could say I haven't had very many of those situations, and I would not be honest if I said that, because I've had more of them than I wanted, whether it was with my child, my spouse, a friend, a co-worker. There have been far too many situations in my life where I have handled our interchange poorly. And some of it was flat out from not knowing how to handle it better. So I've continued my quest over the years to try to figure this out. And of course, there's an old strategy, I guess I would call it, that I was told for when I was really young, and I didn't know why they told me that, but this was the thing. If you hit the anger point, well, if you're mad, count to 10 before you say anything. And I never understood. They didn't tell me why I had to count to 10. It was just count to 10. Well, of course, the idea of the count to 10 is that it's an interrupter, right? It stops you from just blurting something out, which you most want to do because you're kind of drunk on adrenaline when emotions are running high. And so there's this tendency to want to just react right now, like just bam, that fast. Counting to 10, if you're genuinely interested in a better outcome, then gives you that time to take a breath and say, okay, I'm ready to blow. Do I really want to do this or not? And when you get to 10, you may still blow, but you may not. You may have a little bit of a sober second thought and say, I better tread a little bit more carefully here. I better just not engage right this second. And maybe you call a timeout and say, whoa, hang on. That hit me like a Mack truck. I need a few minutes to think about this. Can we talk about this in a minute or so, or whatever you need to do? And you distance yourself from that scenario until you have a chance to kind of regroup, get your thinking cap on, because let's face it, if you have a surge of adrenaline because an emotion is running really, really hot, your thinking capabilities have just diminished because you're not getting the blood to the brain as you normally would when you're in a more relaxed state. And so you literally cannot deal with it in perhaps the best way. So that counting to 10 did help, especially once I figured out why counting to 10 was important. Now, that was probably the one of the biggest strategies. And then the other saying that was always coming to mind was, if you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all. Well, of course, I grew up with that saying, and that was the thing that my parents and grandparents and so on, that was the pervasive idea that, well, if you couldn't say anything nice, don't say anything at all. The challenge with that, though, is then how do you deal with the not so nice feelings that are welling up in you if you're not allowed to say anything? So then you put a lid on it, and you put a lid on it, and you put a lid on it. And then what happens? Well, I know what happens with me. At some point, the lid blows off and I explode and I say things that I regret because the pressure built and built and built and built to the point where I couldn't stand it anymore. And then I had some not very nice things to say. So it's a very big challenge in looking at how we deal with first ourselves, because we're the only ones that can monitor and manage how we respond to various situations. And I mean, we're not in charge of how the other person is going to be, but I guarantee that if you can get a handle on your own level of pain and your own level of the impact of the scenario, and then learn to deal with it in a more gentle way, a more loving way, a more peaceful way, your chances of having the other person respond to that instead of blowing their lid off is going to be easier. It's going to be more likely that you'll have more of a success. So I wanted to bring this up today because this last week has been filled with stories from other people about different levels of abuse, and it just underscored that we're not being as kind to one another as we could be, that we're not considering the impact of how we interact with other people. And it's, if we want to rise to the level of magnificence that we already are, if we want to move forward or move up, then it's important that we clear away all the crap, all the debris, all of the old nonsense that might not even be true, that has cluttered our brains and caused us to think, oh, the world is not a friendly place, and I have to get before others get, or I have to win out over this one, or compete with that one, and on and on and on. And you know, it's like devouring our young. And I'm going, oh, I don't agree with that. I don't think that's the way to live. And so my quest for myself personally has been to say, how can I have peaceful and meaningful interactions with those around me? Well, first of all, with myself, and then with those around me, that serve a good purpose, that serve to increase the amount of love in the world, that serve to take us to new heights, rather than draw us down and draw us down and draw us down and draw us down. So I came across a book, you know, when there's that old saying that when the student is ready, the teacher appears. Well, this group of men who were involved in corporate training and corporate consulting for many, many years did some brilliant on the ground research of real-time, real life scenarios. And based on that research, they came up with this book that I've had in my bookshelf for a while. It's this book. It's called Crucial Conversations. What's the subtitle? Oh, Tools for Talking When Stakes Are High. Well, this is a must read. I think every junior high should have this in their English curriculum as a tool for communication, and review it every year until people get it. And as adults, I think it's so important that each of us say, all right, I need to up my game from a communication standpoint. Where am I not being my most authentic, loving self in relation to whomever, whether it's coworkers, whether it's a boss, whether it's one of our dearly beloved relatives or friends, anybody that we connect with, then how do I change whatever it is in me so that I can do a better job, so that I can feel as if I've got a handle on this part of my life. What's interesting is this set of authors define a crucial conversation. They created a little pyramid, and they said there's three parts to this. So it's a high stakes conversation. A crucial conversation has high stakes involved. There's opposing or varying opinions amongst the participants, and there's strong emotions running. Well, think of the times in your life when you've had strong emotions running. Strong emotions run when our child has a tantrum, and which triggers this huge flood of, what am I going to do about this now? And all these attendant emotions of embarrassment, especially if it's in the middle of the grocery store, and feeling humiliated and feeling angry that this child would do this thing, and helpless about, I don't know what to do next. This is the first time this has ever happened. And so there's all that going on. So that's high stakes. And of course, here it's not necessarily a varying of opinion, but a difference in wants and needs at that point in time. This child wants or needs this, and you're not there. And of course, the emotions are running really, really high, and the stakes are high because every parent, I think, wants to do right by their kids. You know, we don't want to mess them up by saying something that was uncalled for and that probably wasn't true. But in the heat of the moment, we say lots of things that can that we wish we could take back. That we say, oh, why did I say that? And so this book is a step-by-step guide on how to go about having a crucial conversation so that you can be genuine, you can be authentic, you can be vulnerable. And as part of that process, as you move into the interaction, you can maintain the trust and maintain the safety of the situation so that both of you, or however many of you are involved, can have a positive outcome, that you can achieve whatever goal that you've set for yourselves, even though the stakes are high, the emotions are running high, and you started maybe from opposite ends of the spectrum as far as positions where you were. So I think any work we do in this regard for ourselves and on ourselves is so valuable. So I wanted to put that out to you today, to look at how you are in the world, because there's no question we're always going to be faced with increasingly complex situations, and what we were taught when we grew up may not be valid anymore. And maybe it was never valid, but we never questioned it. We never questioned the, you know, I bought hook, line, and sinker well, you know, if you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all. Well, in some ways that served me, because I didn't make cruel comments about other people, and as much as possible I monitored and held back from participating in malicious gossip and nattering about well, she, all that kind of stuff that goes on often when we're teenagers and so on. But where it was a block for me was then lots of times I couldn't say what was really on my mind, because it didn't sound like what I was going to say was nice, but I didn't know how to say it any differently. So I got stuck. And as a result, resentment would build up over time. And then I had an even bigger thing to deal with. So it's that it goes from, you know, this little molehill to a mountain. And then you go, oh, I don't even know where to start. So I want to challenge you over the next week to think about and notice how you are being in relation to other people, and where are your triggers? What if somebody pushes that button? Does it set you off to the point of unreasoning insanity, and every level in between into, yeah, well, I was a little irritated by that, but you know, I just sloughed it off. It was no big deal. Or is it time to call the other person to account and say, what you just said really triggered this in me, and I'd like to explore that further. And it's not that you're blaming the other person for being the trigger. It's to notice when you get triggered and then decide, how am I going to deal with this so we both can benefit from this next conversation. So I'm really going to encourage you to find the book, Crucial Conversations. I'm sure you can get it at your local bookstore or on Amazon. I'll put the actual book name and authors in the description at the bottom of the video here for you. The other cool thing about the book that I really like is that there are links to videos that you can watch. So you can actually watch real-time interactions to get a sense of how this plays out. So it's not just the words on the page, but it's the visual to say, oh, I see how they're doing that. Because we need to practice, right? We first time through, well, we might have a modest success, but next, you know, but then it can get better, and it gets better as we practice, because a new skill is always better after we're practicing it. So if this is a skill that you feel compelled to explore and to add to your own well-being, then I really want to encourage you to do that. You know you're that magnificent and you can do this. In the meantime, have a great weekend, and we'll look forward to seeing you next week on Tea with Sue. Next week will be episode number 70. So we're at 69 today. Cool. I'm having such fun with this. In the meantime, if you're enjoying Tea with Sue, join me every Friday. You can subscribe to my channel, and you can also download my free app, The Magnificence Mentor, for more videos, especially if you missed the first, 68 of them. Take good care, my friends. Remember, you are magnificent.